Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
I've got another screen. So we are now live. It looks like we are now live, folks. Good news. So with that, I want to welcome everyone to another DevRunner live stream. Take two. My name is Paul. As always, my name is Paul, and today I am proud to bring you some amazingly fast, some amazingly friendly and wonderful runners, because today we are going to talk about running a faster marathon. My guests have all either participated in a subscriber spotlight interview on my channel before or are about to be presented that way. So keep your eyes out for that. If you enjoy these personalities, there's a lot more to learn about everybody on screen right now. So with that, I also want to encourage everyone to like, subscribe, follow everyone here. There are links below us right now so that you can learn more about everyone and follow them on their various social media channels. And with that, I just want to say thank you all for being here and for participating in the chat. If you've got any questions for us along the way, or if you want to help steer the direction of the things that we're going to talk about, feel free. With that, Sam, I am again going to bounce it to you. I'm hoping that you can introduce yourself briefly, describe your marathon racing background, what's your next marathon goal, and please share your current marathon PR.
Hi everybody, yeah, so thanks for checking out this live stream today. I'm excited to be a part of it. As you can see, my name is Running Man Sam. Obviously that's not my real name is Sam, but that's just what I sort of go by on Instagram and YouTube. I do a lot of shoe reviews, workouts and tips and tricks and that sort of thing. But yeah, so in terms of marathons, I have done 2 marathons, well, 1 marathon and 1 ultra marathon. The marathon that I did do was just a lap challenge, the first ever one I did, and the second marathon was part of a 28-mile run that I did in memory of my nan when she passed away. So that was like a charity thing. That was I really enjoyed that. So in terms of my goals, I've got the London Marathon this year in October, where I will be aiming for that sub-3 with a 2-hour 45 stretch target. So that's my goal for that. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Alyssa, I'm going to bounce it to you. I'm hoping just to refresh your memory on just a brief introduction of who you are. Describe your marathon racing background, what your next marathon goal is, and what is your current marathon PR?
Okay, so hi everybody. I've been running for 7 years, seriously training, I'd say for 2 years with a coach. And I've only been doing marathons for 1 year. So my first marathon was in May 2020, and that was virtually. And then my second one was in November, and that was a live race. So my next marathon is Chicago Marathon. So I'm going to do that in October. And my current PR is 3 hours and 43 seconds. But so which I'm
amazing.
Well, it was where my fitness was at. So I'm happy with it. I mean, if my fitness was at a 4-hour marathon, I would have been happy with that too. So it was a successful marathon. So that's
I'd say so. I mean, Alyssa,
yeah.
That's amazing to come out of the gate with right on 3 hours. I mean, I'm so excited for your marathoning future. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited. So my goal for Chicago is I think a 250 would be realistic with I think where I'm at right now, but we'll see where I'm at then. I haven't started training for that yet. So.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. So I'm going to pass the mic to you, Shawanna. Please give us some background on you as a runner, your past marathon exploits, your future goals, and your current PR.
Well, hi guys, and thank you for everybody coming out to hear us talk tonight. My name is Shawanna. On Instagram, I go by PeachRunner26.2. I started running when I was in high school, and then I've been running since. I mean, I did take a break from running after college, but after that, I started back running. I started running marathons in 2011. I ran my first marathon in Albany, Georgia, which was the sneakers marathon. And at that marathon, I ran 3:12. And then since then, I've ran a total of 25 marathons.
Amazing.
And I have ran 16 marathons under 3 hours. And let's see what else about the marathon. It's really surprising that I am running marathons because at first I used to think people who run marathons are kind of crazy, but I guess it's part of the crazy party now, and I love it. My current PR is 2:45:19. I ran that in 2018.
Amazing.
Thank you. My upcoming marathon will be Chicago as well, just like Alyssa. And my goal there, I would like to run 2:40. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's just mind-blowing speeds. Just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, I've been running. I didn't start running until I was rather advanced in my years. I picked it up when I was like 42 years old. I ran cross country in grade 9, and then there was nothing for, whatever that is, 27 years, 25 years in between. But started running like 9 years ago. Went straight from my first race was a half marathon, and then 6 weeks later I ran my first marathon. Loved it. I've run 9 of them now. My current PR is 2:52, and I'm hoping this fall, I don't know which marathon is going to be my destination, but I'm hoping to break 2:45 this fall. We shall see.
Nice.
Awesome.
But with that said, guys, my next question, just to keep the ball rolling here. Before we even talk further about marathoning, I thought this would be a great opportunity to sort of address the importance of weightlifting, core work, and cross training for runners. For me, this is the basis of strength, endurance, speed, and injury prevention. So, Alyssa, I'm hoping you can go first this time and talk about all of the above and how that has become a part of your training.
Sure. So I didn't do much in the beginning, and I had an injury, and I think I incorporated things slowly along the way. But
Okay.
after my first marathon, coming back from that, I had some ITB pain, and I realized that I wasn't doing much to strengthen my glutes and my hips. So I started learning about exercises that help strengthen those areas. And then I'd incorporated more core work, and then gradually added just some simple arm exercises, and then also incorporated some one-legged exercises with dumbbells and kettlebells. So I have a routine now that I do that I stick with. So I usually spend about a half an hour 4 times a week doing my various exercises that are pretty simple, and I pretty much do the same kind of routines each time. And I also use bands to do band work and as well.
That's awesome.
As far as cross training with bikes or swimming, I don't do much of that at all. So I just like to run. So I run, and I try to maintain that strength to actually keep me healthy. That's the key, is getting to that starting line, or getting to that every day that I have a run, I'm prepared, my body's ready, and I'm strong enough to make it through those long runs and come prepared to whatever the day holds for me. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's so important. It's just something that's the reason I wanted to ask this question right at the outset before we got into the really technical bits of actually running, because if your body isn't strong, as I think we probably all learned, I don't know what everybody's learning curve looks like yet, but I spent the first couple of years just running, and boy, what an endless string of injuries I had. I was at the PT more than I was on the roads, it seems. So, but before I get into my stuff, Shawanna, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about the importance of weightlifting, core, and cross training.
Well, I learned as I get older, it's very important for me to incorporate weightlifting into my training because it it doesn't fail. I like every time I stop lifting something, I always get some type of niggle. So with me for weightlifting, I try to go either to the gym or I do a home session at least 2 to 3 times a week. And that basically just like Alyssa, I do kettlebells, I do dumbbells, I use band work as well. And then sometimes I also incorporate videos that I see on YouTube. Like I just like a different type of variety for strength training. So I don't really have a set plan. I just do whatever I feel that is needed. Like most of the time I try to target my hips, my glutes, my quads, my hamstrings. I mean, especially the hip area because back in 2013 I had hip surgery. So it's important that I make sure that area stay nice and strong so I don't have any problems. Far as well as cross training, I don't really cross train at all. I really just stick to running. The only time I cross train was after hip surgery. I was still going and riding a bike like once a week, but then eventually I kind of stopped doing that.
Okay.
I just like Alyssa, I just stick to running. But like with core, I try to do core at least 5 times a week. And most of the time for my core, I do videos online like HasFit. I don't know if you heard of HasFit, but he has a bunch of videos that I love to do. And I do Bowflex videos for core. And sometimes I do Block-Gottis. And then sometimes I may just use my stability ball at home and just do different exercises on my stability ball.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's part why it's for strength. Yeah. And core.
That's cool. That's cool. Sam, before you jump in, I just want to address this question from Jenny on a mission. How do you not be sore after leg day? To run, typically, if I lift in your work day, I'm not sore if I can't. I'm so sore I can't run for a week. Yeah, the first thing I'd say, Jenny, off the bat is maybe pull back on the weights. Don't try to kill yourself. I mean, depending on what your focus is. If you are a weightlifter who likes to run, then go crazy in the gym, cut back on the running. But if you are trying to lift in order to support your running, then cut back. I think you're probably hitting it a little too hard in the gym. The only other thing that I would say on that is I prefer, and I know a lot of people like distance runners who prefer to lift on their hard running days. If you're like on interval day or on your tempo day, that's the day I'll choose to lift. I will always do my lifting after my run is over so that my legs are fresh because I'm a runner, I'm not a weightlifter. The running is more important to me. And the other reason for that is because I want my easy days to be easy. Those are the days you're supposed to be resting. You're supposed to be recovering. So don't make it harder by doing weightlifting on those days, unless you're like, already far along on your weightlifting journey. But to get started, I would cut back a little bit. And Sam, I don't want to leave you out of this conversation, especially since amongst all of us, you seem like you are the most adept at the weightlifting and cross training bit. So
I think I definitely come more from a gym background. So I've been training in the gym since I was about 15 or 16, weight training, quite seriously. I did a little bit of modeling and things like that when I was sort of like doing cuts and stuff like that. And I just sort of fell in love with running when I was training for my boxing. I just did some, boxing. I didn't want to be unfit. So started running and then I just fell in love with running. So yeah, in terms of, for me, I'm quite a big guy compared to most standard runners. I'm about 92, 95 kilograms. So I'm a pretty heavy lump. Hopefully still quite fast to weigh that much. But yeah, so for me, just it's like an iceberg, isn't it? Running is like an iceberg. People think, you just go out and put 2 feet in front of the other and just run. Well, yeah, in essence, that is what we're doing. But there's just so much stuff underneath, isn't there? And weight training for me is a huge part of it. Whether it be resistance bands and obviously training your core running muscles, like, your glutes, your hamstrings, all that sort of thing, your gastrocnemius, all your calves, is really important, and obviously training your core. But for me, obviously, I take it probably to a level maybe that other runners may not necessarily need to do, just because aesthetically I like to look, a little bit bulkier. I've always enjoyed, weight training. So it's sort of, I'm kind of like a hybrid athlete, I guess. You know, it's kind of like running is the main thing that I love these days, but I still really love weight training. So it's kind of like just, I probably spend, you know, I probably run 5 to 7 days a week. I probably weightlift 3 to 5 days a week, depending on how my work schedule is. But yeah, really important, especially in terms of just reducing the risk of injuries. And it helps to make you faster, doesn't it? If you're weight training, you're building that explosive power, those recruiting more muscle fibers. And in terms of cross training, does running around after 3 young children count? Because I guess that's my cross training. And working, I've got a very busy job, 12 hours on my feet. So that's, I guess that's a bit of cross training. And yeah, I've got a static bike at home. I can't say that I absolutely love using it. It is probably the most mind-numbing thing that you could possibly do. But when I hurt my foot, I had plantar fasciitis. I did spend a lot of time on the static bike, so we became quite well acquainted, I'd say, after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny. The way you feel about the static bike is probably the way I feel about the treadmill. But yeah, as far as I go, cross training, I think I've probably got a lot in common with everybody on screen right now because, you know, it's funny. I don't cross train in the sense of I don't bike. I don't do any other sort of sporting activity. But I do core workouts every single morning, 7 days a week. That's the first thing I do when I wake up. I just kind of like roll out of bed, hit the floor, and do a daily like 15 to 20 minute core routine. And I do lift weights, free weights 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'd like to have the weekends, you know, free of all that stuff. But yeah, that's it for, and then I run 7 days a week. So trying to fit in anything else, I think would be about impossible. But the point I make that Shawanna touched on earlier is that as you become a more mature runner, it becomes more of a necessity. You know, it's so easy to lose muscle mass as you age. And, you know, I'm 51 years old. And I think the only reason I can even come close to the times that I'm running is because of the days in the gym. If I wasn't lifting, I think it would be over for me. I don't think I'd be in any kind of shape to be a distance runner. But with that said, folks, let's switch gears and get back into the actual running part. Thank you so much for indulging my curiosity about cross training and all that stuff. But I'm kind of curious, Sam, what do you prefer, spring or fall marathons, and why?
So I think probably spring for me. I haven't ever done any like really big marathons, but I just prefer a little bit of warmer weather than the freezing cold. I think it just appeals to me a little bit more, that sort of weather, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, me too. I'm very much in agreement with you. Alyssa, how about you?
Isn't it, overall?
Well, I was thinking about this. As I live in a cold climate, it's New Hampshire, so training hard in the winter with long runs when it's like below freezing outside, is hard. So a spring marathon would be more difficult than a fall marathon for me because I would get the bulk of the training done with the warmer weather with the fall marathon rather than the winter training. So,
yeah,
but then,
I gotcha.
But then well, last time I was doing like more 5K type training in the winter, and that was really tough because you're trying to go so fast and you have like single digit numbers outside. So that was difficult too. So either way, yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. I used to live up north, and I couldn't imagine what winter training would look like if you're not constantly on a treadmill. But yeah, now that I'm down here in the south, it's like, boy, I just absolutely love winter training. Shawanna, how about you?
I prefer spring marathons because I really don't like to be cold. So yeah, I like, like 50 to 60 degrees is a sweet spot. And the wintertime is too cold for me. But I still run them in the fall, but if I can have it my way, spring all the time.
That's awesome. Okay, just to circle back a little bit, Shawanna and Alyssa, my wife is asking, what weight of kettlebells do you guys use?
For me,
Go ahead, Shawanna.
Oh, for me, currently, I'm at 15 pounds, and eventually I'll probably get up to 20. But I use the kettlebells primarily for squats and lunges, that type of thing.
So, so I have two kettlebells, one a 15-pound and a 25-pound. I use a 25-pound for like regular squats, but then I do sumo squats with a 15-pound kettlebell with overhead press. And then I have dumbbells, and I'll do like split squats on a bench with like two 8-pound dumbbells. And then what else do I do with that? I think that's it as far as weights go. Oh, actually, I have a Swiss ball, and I'll lay on the ground and do like hamstring curls with a Swiss ball. And I'm just trying to think of what I do with my weights. And then as far as like, I'll do like bench presses with like two 20-pound dumbbells. So I use dumbbells for other things as well. But as far as the kettlebells go, I use them mainly for squats, and then dumbbells, like light dumbbells for lunges.
That's awesome. I use like I use dumbbells for everything. I've got a bar, but the only thing I use that for is deadlifts. And I'm thinking maybe I should buy a couple of kettlebells, because when I do my dumbbell squats, it's just so awkward. Maybe the kettlebells might be a little more comfortable. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at any rate, here's the next set of questions. This is going to go to you again, Sam, first. How long of a training block do you prefer when you're preparing for a marathon?
So here's the thing. I actually don't ever follow a training plan. You guys are going to think this is mental, but I've never done it. And I can see you guys are obviously really, really experienced marathon runners, and it's awesome to be talking to you guys that are a bit more insight. But for me, I've never done that. You know, as I say, I've only ever run 2 marathons, and neither of them were targeted. One of them was an ultra, as I said, for in memory of my nan, so it was kind of like more of an emotional type of thing than like let's go and smash it. And the other one was just, I'd only been running like 3 months when I did my first marathon. So you know, I'm pretty quick in a 5K and a 10K and a half marathon. I've got times of like 1:20 for a half, 17 minutes for a 5K, 36 minutes for a 10K. So I'm a pretty decent runner, but I wouldn't say the word is wing it, but I'm not super structured. So what I'll do is in a week, I will have things like obviously your easy runs, your zone 2 or easy perceived effort runs. I'll have my tempo runs, that's sort of your threshold runs when I'm running at pace for 3-4 miles. Obviously my interval sessions where I'm working at targeted pace, and a long run. And if I'm honest, I sort of just do that every week. And as it comes closer to a race, I might, you know, sort of reduce it when it's just like a week or 2 before, or sort of increase the sort of intensity of the sessions or the length of the intervals, for example, or sort of do a long run that's got like a threshold session in the middle of it, or an interval session in the middle of it. But yeah, I haven't ever sort of followed a structured training plans in terms of like this is a 12-week training program, or like this is a 16-week training program. I just kind of just keep fit all the time with sort of those constantly doing intervals. Well, I say constantly, like once a week, but every week doing intervals, tempo sessions every week. And then, yeah, just adjust them as I'm getting closer to the race. You know, I might think, say the race is like 4 weeks away, start making it a bit more relevant or whatever. But yeah, so it's probably going to be a different perspective to what you guys do. And I'm sure we'll hear more about that. But just for me, so far that's worked. You know, obviously I'm not an experienced marathon runner as such. But yeah, it's worked all the times with my half marathon races. That's the sort of technique that I've applied to it. And it's worked so far. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm going to be approaching this London Marathon that I've got. Is just sort of keep to what I'm doing. It gradually increase the intensity, and just go from there. Really.
Gotcha. Now it's kind of misleading what you just said, Sam, because you say I don't really follow a plan, but it sounds like everything you do is really well structured, and it's part of.
Well, in a way, yeah, I guess, but it's kind of like it's not daily, so it's not like Monday I'm doing this, Tuesday I'm doing this. Because I'm a shift worker, it's just kind of like I've just got to sort of just do it when I can do it. And And I won't be like, you know, this week I have to do this interval. I just go, right, what do I fancy doing for an interval session? 400 meters? Yeah, okay. And then I just do that, you know. So it's loosely structured, I guess, but it's not like written down in a book, like, you know, on a wall, like today's this, and then I can see 4 weeks later I'm doing that. I literally make it up week by week, kind of thinking like, right, what do I fancy doing today, this week, kind of thing. And yeah, that's just how I do it so far.
Well, I got to tell you what, that's very highly impressive to be knocking out the kind of times that you're knocking out, just kind of winging it. Wow. Wow. If I can ever lock you down into a regimented plan, well, then again, I could be wrong. That just might not work for you, period.
You know what I mean? It might do. It's just something that, as I said, I haven't been running a super long time. So I've been running for about 2 years. I've been in more into like gym and that sort of stuff, and just sort of fallen in love with running. And you know, I've got sort of concepts of it from just, you know, the team around me in my running club, and you sort of get ideas from them. And I have got a diploma in sports science and exercise, so I have an understanding of like how to train and how to sort of do a personal exercise program, all those kind of things. I just never have sort of really sort of like followed a training program. It's not something I would not saying I'd never do. I just haven't done it.
I'll tell you what, whatever you're doing, it's working.
So far, so good.
Alyssa, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about, how long of a training block do you prefer for marathon prep, and why?
So I have a coach, and so he does all the brains behind it. So he doesn't like make out like this big plan that I have in front of me. It's more like a daily communication and a week by week thing. So I'm not really sure like how big the block is. All I know is that I just do what's on the plan, and it works out. But I know that all year it's like I'm always working. I'm always working on that top end speed throughout the week, throughout the month, and I'm always doing workouts and intervals. So it just all kind of blends together, it seems like. So
you're like another always on person. You never you never have those sort of really big no activity periods and then you just kind of pick it up again when a race is approaching.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I mean, after a marathon, then it's, you know, I think I take like a week off, and then it's just like easy running, and then it's like we get back into it, but the mileage isn't super high. Like it's not always high. You know, it goes in a peak, and then you taper, and then you race, and then it seems like it builds again, and then every few weeks, and there's like a down week as well. So you have time to like recover and to adapt to the training. So.
I gotcha. Now, Shawanna.
Can I just ask a quick question? Sorry,
No, absolutely.
I'm just interested there. So when you say your mileage, what sort of mileage are you getting up to in your peak weeks, like your highest mileage?
So when I started with my coach 2 years ago, my mileage was pretty low. It was probably about 30 miles a week. And then so he brought me up that first year to 60 miles. And so I peaked at about 60 miles for my first marathon. And then 6 months later, I did my second marathon, and I peaked at 70 miles.
Okay.
So, and then, and so that's just at the peak, and then it's brought back down a little bit. So.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I swear, I'm so jealous, because it seems like I've spent the last 9 years just doing everything exactly backwards. Like I listen to all you guys, and it's kind of like, you know, 70 miles, of course, that's a massive amount of mileage, weekly mileage. But man, I think about some of the years where I just destroyed myself, and I didn't get enough good out of it, you know, to justify that kind of mileage. But Shawanna, I'm dying to hear more about this from you.
Oh, well, with my past coach, we used to mostly do 12 weeks out.
Okay.
I say with my last coach, my old coach, we used to do 12 weeks of training. That pretty much works well for me, I think. But with my new coach, I'm not quite sure, because we haven't, you know, dipped into the marathon training right now, because right now I'm just focusing on 5K and mile. So it'll be interesting to see how many weeks she thinks that I need in order to train for the marathon. But In the past, I've always done 12 weeks. And within that 12 weeks, I would do the same type of workouts that Sam was mentioning about tempo runs, intervals, and all that such. But what was really special and unique about myself is that I like to race a lot. And I pretty much race almost every single weekend if there is a race available for me to run. So with my marathon training, some of my races will work out as workouts, because if I'm not racing with my old coach, the philosophy was, you know, we're going to do a hard work anyway. So why not do that hard workout in a race? So, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep my head on straight because I've got, you're generating so many more questions in my head, but I'm trying to stick to the planned questions because it's going to be hard just fitting that in. So I'm going to try to hold my tongue here and just kind of stick to the plan here. But Shawanna, that's amazing. Like I hope everybody who's watching this or watches this in the future has listened to the answers from everybody I'm sharing the screen with and is beginning to realize that you don't necessarily have to be highly regimented to be a success in the marathon. I think it's safe to say consistency is really key. You're week to week. You got to be committed, but you don't have to be an elite who goes out and does 140, 150 mile weeks in order to kill it. Just to circle back to talk a little bit about my training block history. I came out of the gate and almost immediately discovered Pete Fitzinger's book, Advanced Marathoning, which an amazing book and an amazingly smart guy. I followed all of his plans religiously for like 5 years, and only with COVID and the unavailability of races did I start this past winter or past fall into winter. I started running shorter time trials like 5Ks, 10Ks, and just recently a half marathon. And as a result of that, I started doing track intervals and repetitions for the first time, like really hitting the track and those kind of like really fast workouts for the first time, really heavy. And I can't believe I'm running faster than I ever did when I was going out. Like the biggest training block I ever did for a marathon was 18 weeks, peaking at 120 miles a week.
Wow.
And like ridiculous. Like, and I feel stupid. I'm not showing off that number. To me, that should be an example to everybody who's watching this of work smarter, not harder. Or
exactly.
Work smarter, not harder, because I'm destroying my old PR times on way less. Like I just ran a half marathon on the track a couple of weeks ago and destroyed my PR, and I did it peaking out at 80 miles a week. You know, most of those weeks of training, which it only lasted, I put in 11 weeks of training and spent most of those weeks in the low to mid 70s and wrecked what I was doing when I was running 100 to 120 miles a week. So that's the way I'm going to be doing it from now on. You know, a lot more speed work, a lot more weightlifting, and a lot less mileage. So
one of the things that my coach has me do is a lot of strides. So like at least like 3 times a week, I'm doing strides, hill strides, flat strides, and I'll do a full, like usually a full 2-minute recovery in between the strides. But just to like get that top end speed, because that as that gets faster, so does your easy paces get faster, and everything else kind of gets faster, but always working on that top end speed.
Yeah, definitely. Gotcha. I mean, I was going to say there that it's interesting talking to you guys because the only one I can really talk about is when I did the ultra, when I did the 28 miles, because that's kind of the only fast kind of ish marathon that I've done. And I did 3:20 on that within an ultra. So as I wasn't racing it. I wasn't racing it at any point. So I don't mean that in a big headed way. It was just like, it was for my nan. You know, my nan passed away. It was in memory of her. It was like lots of people on my Instagram were doing it at the same time as me, just different mileage. So it was kind of like a big thing. It wasn't like go out and smash it. But yeah, so in training for that ultra, I think my highest mileage was 62 miles. So, you know, again, it's not a sub 3 hour marathon that I did there, but it was a 3:20 marathon, which is still impressive for, you know, especially a guy that's like 95 kilos. You know, I'm not I'm not like a light guy. Yeah, so just for anybody that's watching this either live or watching it back, and we all train differently, I know, but you don't have to do, as Paul's saying there, I don't think you have to do hundreds and hundreds of miles. If it works, do it. I don't change what you do if it's worked for you all this time. But Paul thought it worked and he's changed it, so maybe change it. But just yes, yeah, for me, maybe as I'm training for a sub 3, I'll probably be hitting more than 60 miles, maybe. But there's no way with my work and the children that I'll be able to get anywhere near to 70 or 80. It will be around 60 to 70 miles max. So yeah, just thought I'd just put that bit in there.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And very impressive that you ran a 320 in the middle of an ultra. Okay. Now I had a bunch of questions, but I think we really did a good job of kind of answering a couple of these that I had, queued up. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, and I am hoping. I forget who's supposed to go first next. I kind of lost my way here. Sam, I think you led this last circle off. So, Alyssa, I want you to talk a little bit about the importance of tune-up races. Shawanna kind of brought it up, and I kind of tried to hold back and not kind of push in that direction because I wanted to finish the last round of questions. But Alyssa, do you do tune-up races before like an A goal race?
Oh yeah, I do. I like to do all the different distances: 5K, 10K, half marathon, 10 mile. But I think like focusing on that faster speed for a block of time really helps with if you want to like increase your paces overall. It's good to focus on those faster paces, and it also gives you practice mentally and helps build your confidence so you can go into a big race like a marathon more confident. And it's fun. So if you enjoy it, go for it. I think it's a mistake to just only, unless that's all you want to do, is just to only focus on the marathon. I think that you can get the best out of yourself if you have blocks of different training. Even if you don't want to race, like I think a regular race, you could always do a time trial or just focus on those faster speeds alone without a race. Especially in these times, there's not a lot of options. So I actually did 2 5K time trials and a 10K time trial during 2020 with when things are shut down. So
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point that not just physically is it good to get out there and prove to yourself that you can move fast before your main goal race, but for me, the most important thing on a tune-up race is the mental thing, because in all things in life, I can get really anxious.
Yeah.
So getting the chance to practice standing at a start line before the race that means everything to you is for someone like me is very helpful. And Shawanna, you're exactly on the opposite end of this spectrum. As you said, you race so often that it seems like nerves are probably a little less of a thing for you.
Yeah, that is correct, Paul. Yeah, most of the time I'm not really nervous going up to the start line because, like I said, I race pretty frequently, so it's pretty fun. I mean, I used to have this saying before COVID, there's always another race to be ran, but with COVID, that kind of differently. So, when I first started that racing, I did, feel a little different because it was been a long time being on the start line. So, but now I'm back to being normal where I'm not really nervous. I mean, if you see me at the start line, most of the time I should be smiling. If I'm not smiling, then maybe that's an indication that I am nervous. And sometimes you may see me do a little dance move or whatever if they're playing music before the race start. So yeah, but when the question about the tune-up race, and you mean tune-up when you're preparing for a marathon, right?
Yeah, well, specifically, but I think if you talk about that in general, even if it's a shorter race, what value do you find in sort of running a race when you're preparing for sort of a bigger, more important race?
I mean, the way that I think I feel it's different for all people, but for me, I find that running more races, make me more, like Alyssa was saying, more confident. Like I know how to deal with different scenarios because I have already experienced it in a race. Like say, for example, with me, I'm notorious for leaving something. So now I know that the night before I have to make sure I have my race number out, because if not, guess what? I may walk to the race and don't have a number. and um so it helped me to be more prepared for races and just to be calm on when the big day comes for the marathon. But like I said, I just enjoy racing and I enjoy competing. So, you know,
That's awesome. I just cannot wait for races to come back because we actually live somewhat close to each other. So I just cannot wait for the opportunity to try to keep up with you at a race.
I think you're close, Paul. I mean, because what did you run half marathon?
119. I just ran a couple of weeks ago. So.
And how many seconds? 119. What?
Oh boy, now you're putting me on the spot. 119.38, I think.
Okay,
I think.
we're close. I'm 119.09, so you're right.
You got me.
But you can see me for now.
That's awesome. Sam, I'm hoping that you can jump in and talk about the importance of tune-up races.
Yeah, so again, touching on the fact that I don't really follow a training plan in terms of like 12 weeks or whatever, as you guys were saying, but for me, it is really important to find out where my fitness is at, what level I'm at, what ability I'm at, and obviously because of COVID and all that sort of stuff that's been going on at the moment, during the lockdowns, I have been doing a lot of time trials, just to sort of see where I've been at the 1 mile, the 5K, the 10K and all that sort of thing. So, so I'm obviously in the build up to my my London marathon in October. I will be doing some races along the way, some half marathon races, some 10K races, just to sort of see where I'm at as I go along. For example, I know we're a long way from it, but I've got a 10-mile race on Saturday, actually, a virtual race. So that will give me an indication to see where I am. I'm about 4 weeks out from my injury. Was injured, so this is 4 weeks, like sort of back into my training. So obviously I'm just trying to get back to where I was before I got injured, before I can obviously start making some progress in my times. But yeah, I definitely think that, I don't know about necessarily just a tune-up race maybe before a race, but definitely having that experience of racing a few weeks prior to race, when your big race is, so you can sort of run through your routine, what time you're going to eat breakfast in the morning to make sure you don't have any, stomach problems, your gels, you're going to make sure you've, like Shawanna said there, having your stuff laid out, so it's kind of like you don't forget your gels, you don't forget whatever it is that's really important to you on race day. And I think if you're having a tune-up race or a practice race or whatever you want to call it, is that you can practice, can't you? You can make sure that when it comes to the real big day, which is your targeted marathon, that you haven't hopefully you haven't forgot something, that you feel mentally prepared for it, because I just run a 120 half marathon 3 weeks ago, whatever. So, I should be there, because based on that, I should, and it makes you more confident in your ability. But in terms of nerves, I always get nervous, even if I'm going to do an interval session. If I'm doing an interval session and I'm thinking, I've got to hit like, I don't know, 5-minute mile pace for 400 meters, I'm like, oh God, this is going to be tough. So yeah, I mean, I think for me, the nerves help though, the nerves sort of just make me a little bit more excited. And I'm always nervous on the time trial. I'm always nervous on a race.
I always tell people when they talk about, oh my God, I'm such a bundle of nerves before a race, and I'm amongst them. I always just tell people that just means you care. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't see it. I don't look like I'm nervous, but just inside, and definitely my insides tell me that I'm nervous, to put it that way.
The butterflies are always flying in my stomach when I'm waiting at the start line. Yeah. But you just brought up a good segue for me, Sam. Shawanna, I want you to address this question first. I want you to talk about your favorite long run and racing fuels, and what was your process to learn what works best for you?
Oh man, Paul, this has been an ongoing learning process. When I ran the 245, I don't think I probably fueled properly. But after hearing a lot of podcasts with different nutritionists, dietitians who are also runners at a high level, they mentioned about taking more gels on the run. So previously, I was only maybe taking about 3 to 4 gels for a marathon. But after listening to these podcasts and actually applying it to my training this year and last year, I noticed that if I take a gel every 5K, I'm feeling great. So I'm just waiting and itching to get to a marathon and apply it into an actual marathon because I have applied it to several long runs that are about 16 miles, 16, 18 miles, and I feel amazing. I mean, it's a lot of gels,
Yeah,
but I feel so energetic and I just feel better than I ever have felt before. So I'm really looking forward to apply it on marathon day. But yeah, that's
that's
what
pretty cool.
that's what
Now,
I do. And that's what type of fuel I use. Or
yeah, well, yeah, I'm kind of curious about, is your fueling purely gels, or do you do anything liquid like Tailwind or UCAN or any of those type of things, or the Morton drinks?
yeah, I use Spring Energy, and when certain races, I'm allowed to have a bottle. So and I haven't been able to apply this in the actual race yet because I've changed some things up. Because at first I was using noon tabs, but now I use liquid IV.
Okay,
So I'm really looking forward to actually apply that into a race where I'm allowed to have bottles. Now, if there's a race where there aren't elite bottles, then I just take whatever's on the course because my stomach, it likes all things. So I'll just use I would just typically just use whatever on the course. So if it's Gatorade, Powerade, sometimes they have noon on the course. Whatever they have on the course, I just take it with some gel. Well, no, I don't take that with gel, sorry. But I just take that without the gel. I take water with the gel. So yeah. But if it's my
gotcha,
bottles, it's gonna be liquid IV now.
gotcha. Cool. All right, Sam, I want you to tackle the same question. What do you do for fueling, and how did you learn what works for you?
So yeah, I when I did the ultra marathon, the 28 miles, I actually most of that was I used the Molten gels, and they worked really well for me. And I did actually probably maybe not the best thing, but for me on the ultra, I actually had a lot of sweets and stuff like that. So I had things like wine gums and that kind of thing, and that really did help obviously spike the energy towards the end of the run. So I didn't take them too much towards the beginning. It was more just that sort of last bit at the end,
Gotcha.
and that worked really well. I did do it with like the Lucozade Sports as well. So I was running around as I was running. I think I went through 3 of the Lucozade Sports. But in the past, I've tried the Science in Sport energy gels, and although I do get a good sort of energy rush from them, my stomach did not like them at all. After the runs, it would just be not very nice. So I sort of thought, well, I kept sort of going through different gels and seeing if they would work. I can't remember a couple of other names, but I tried some other ones that had caffeine in it and stuff like that. They just didn't really work. So recently, yeah, I have started trying the Molten gels, or however you say it, and
Mhm.
it's different. It's a different experience because they're not like actual gels. They're kind of like a jelly. So it's
Yep.
kind of like you have to like sort of like chew it, and it's weird. It is weird. So
Yep.
like when you're
Yep.
going along, when you're running along quite fast, and you're sort of gasping for air, and then you got to chew this gel. It's a bit weird. It's not easy, but they are effective. They do help. Um, so yeah, I mean, as I say, not unlike you guys, I'm not super experienced with the marathon, but that's my plan. You know, my plan is to take probably take it at least every half hour. I take a gel every half hour. Have some kind of like emergency stash of sweets on me just for like towards the end when I'm really struggling. Um, I know it's not necessarily fuel, but I'm thinking of taking a caffeine tablet with me, and towards the end of the run, again, just sort of like popping the caffeine tablet just for that extra boost. I've also got some electrolyte tablets that I take after a run, so I'm thinking of taking a couple of those electrolyte tablets with me as well, just to replenish my electrolyte stores as I'm going round. And probably in terms of like drinks, probably the Lucasade worked quite well for me on the not the fizzy one, obviously, just the sport one. That seemed to work quite well for me. I'd never actually tried that before, and that I finished the 28 miles, feeling absolutely awesome. The next day I went out and did like 10 miles. I just carried on. I was just fine, you know. So that seemed to work for me. So I'm just going to try that approach for the London Marathon, and obviously put that into play on my training as I get closer to it. Take more of the gels and just sort of go from there, really.
Gotcha. Perfect wine. You see what Annie on a mission had to say. That might just work. All right, Alyssa, I want to give you a chance to talk about fueling and how you learned what works best.
So I practice my fueling every long run that I have. So I'm practicing my fueling throughout the year, really. So it starts in the morning, before I head out on my run. So I know what works well on my stomach before I go out on a long run. And usually for me, that's a bowl of oatmeal, maybe a scoop of almond butter in it, and that's good. Maybe like a small cup of coffee, but like really small. And then for fueling during my run, for like my marathon and also for my long runs, the Honey Stinger products tend to work well. I haven't tried a lot of different things because I just like them, and so why switch it around if they work and I
Exactly.
like them? So I did that for my 2 marathons. I used Honey Stinger, and I also used Tailwind as a drink as well. And I would take a gel every 20 minutes or so, or maybe every 4 miles. I'm not sure. Maybe every 4. No, not every 20 minutes. I think every 4 miles. So
You're exactly the same as me. Exactly the same as me. Every 4 miles.
yeah. So I think I made a mistake with my first marathon. Towards the end, I didn't want. My husband was crewing me on his bicycle because I was doing it virtually by myself, and he kept on trying to hand me like my drink and my gel, and I was like, no, 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 and I didn't take enough. And at the end, I started getting like some really bad cramping, and I'm thinking now like I should have taken that even if I didn't feel like it. So
Yeah.
my last marathon, I did a really good job taking it every 4 miles and drinking my Tailwind, and it was perfect.
I'm so glad you said that, because you just saved me from having to say all that, because I completely agree with everything you just said. When I'm on a long run or when I'm running a marathon, same thing. If I don't just stay very regimented about my hydration right from the get-go, then it catches up to me by the end. Usually, like, the usual bonk spot, like right around mile 20, is if I'm not hydrated enough, then it's by then it's too late. You just can't catch up. And so I try to get on it early and stay on it early, and I gel every 4 miles. I know we're already 55 minutes into this. I've got one more question for everybody, and then I want to give everyone the opportunity to talk about their social media outlets so that everybody can find you and continue to follow you. But before we get there, Sam, I want you to talk a little bit about basically just mental preparation for those long runs, for those long races, because in my opinion, mindset and the tricks you learn to play on yourself to keep going when it hurts is just as important as all the weeks of physical training. So take it away, Sam.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the most important things for me is when I'm struggling is I just think of like what I want to achieve. I just think of like how important it is to me, and I think about the people I'm trying to inspire, my children and things like that. And that does that. If I'm really struggling on a run, I often quite think about that. Think about my children. I think about just wanting to do good and wanting to achieve, and that really does help me a lot. I also quite often break things down mentally. A bit of like a statistics things in my head. So, I look at the watch and I see if I'm on pace. I'm thinking, right, just finish this mile and then it's another 2 miles. And, just kind of like breaking the numbers down, just making it more manageable. Like things for like a training long run, I quite often do like an out and back. So it's kind of like, I'm halfway to halfway as I'm running out. And then, all that sort of, I sort of like just break it down. And yeah, on race day, I do the same sort of thing, just, kind of like, right, 5K's done, I'm just sort of getting to the milestones. I'm sort of ticking it off. I'm breaking it down into smaller, more manageable barriers that just kind of, it doesn't feel as like scary, It's like, I've got 26 miles left. It's like, right, get to 5K, right, 10K's done, just break it down. And as I say, just thinking about, I'm quite a sort of headstrong person, so it is difficult and everyone suffers, but I just think like I want, obviously if you're injured it's different and you have to stop, but if it's just like a mental thing, I just think of how much I want to achieve it, how hard I've worked to get there, the people, on my YouTube, on my Instagram, my family that are just not in a, not expecting like if you fail they'll be like, oh my god, you failed, but they're watching you. They want you to do well, and you want to do what you've said you're going to achieve. And that's a sort of a big thing for me, is like trying to just perform as well as I can, and just think of the people that are sort of I'm inspiring, or sort of counting on me, like my children and stuff, sort of wanting to do well for them. Yeah.
That's great stuff. Great stuff.
Mhm.
Great stuff. Alyssa, I want to give you a chance to talk about the same thing. What mental games do you play with yourself, and just in general, what kind of mental training do you go through when you're preparing for a race or when you're in the tougher miles of a race?
I think it boils down to just being present, like, and enjoying the process of like the every single day. And during like a hard run, a workout, I just try to stay like as much as I can in what I'm doing at that moment, and just try to break it down, like what Sam said, like, okay, I'm doing my warm up, I can do this. Like a lot of like positive mental talk to myself, like you got, like, it's just a warm up, like don't, like I'm not even thinking about the workout yet. And then when I'm in the workout, it's like, okay, just to that mailbox, or just to like the visual in front of me, like instead of thinking about how far I have to go, it's really like, okay, in this moment, like stay here. And so I just tell myself, stay right here, stay right here. And then I think a lot of it is also just being kind to yourself, and just telling yourself like you're doing a good job, like you are okay, like this is how it's supposed to feel, and you're strong and you're capable and you're doing great. And um, and then I think like just like preparing for races and in the everyday life of it, it's like we choose this, like we chose this, and like it's a gift, and not everybody has the opportunity to do this. So like this is what we chose, and yeah, it's hard sometimes, but it's worth it, and that's what makes it worth it, is like the struggle. So just trying to like look at the big picture of it as just like this is just like the process of it. Like you have to love that, because there's going to be ups and downs. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to be PRing. So just to try to just enjoy the try to find out what your why is, like why you run, and it has to be more than just like hitting a certain time. Like otherwise, because the time, like it has, like you have to be enough, like trying your best has to be enough, or it's never going to be enough. So just being kind to yourself and trying to stay in the present and giving yourself a lot of encouragement is what I do.
That's a lot of wisdom right there. That's a whole lot of wisdom right there. That's great. Shawanna, I'm dying to hear your take on all this.
For me, for mental, like every single day that I'm able to run, I'm really happy. Like I go into every run just being happy that I'm able to run. And just like Alyssa said, like we're running, well, it's like if it's an easy day, it's no problem. I'm enjoying myself just out there in the free, just running wild. And then on the hard days and for races, I just try to tell myself that, I'm able to run, or if I'm having a hard time, I tell myself that I can do hard things. I've done this before. I'm always encouraging myself with positive thoughts. Like I try not to let any negative thoughts get in my head. And also I just think about, again, like being able to run, like Alyssa said, is a gift. And I remember my old coach, because there was a point in my life where I wasn't always positive, or I would get upset if I wasn't hitting this time, or yeah, basically if I wasn't hitting this time or things of that nature. And I used to cry. But my old coach would always tell me, what would the man with no legs say with you complaining about being able to run? So, when I know it's getting hard, I'm not complaining. I'm just happy to be able to run. And just being able to feel that pain or that discomfort, it let me know that I'm doing something right. And I just have to keep pressing. I have to keep moving forward one step at a time, because, there's beauty in the struggle, because eventually you keep on struggling, something amazing is going to happen. You just got to keep sticking with it. It's just like Des Linden say, keep showing up. That's really real. I mean, every single day, I just keep showing up. It's just like this past weekend, you know, I had a high goal. I mean, I did not achieve my goal, but I did achieve the goal of winning the race, which is really awesome. But I didn't run the time that I wanted to run, but that's okay. I'm still gonna show up to another race line and try it again and just be thankful. Like, I think even in runs that don't go your way, you just always have to find something positive and grateful for that run. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Yeah. I think, it's funny. Ever since I started my YouTube channel and got to meet other amazing runners like you guys and all the people who are participating in the chat and far beyond that, even, it's really changed my perspective on doing these hard things like marathons. I think I've softened my attitude towards myself a little bit because I realize everybody else that I know, they're going through that same struggle, and you're not going to hit it every time. But of course, go out there and try your hardest. Really go after it, but don't kill yourself if you don't get there. And when you're struggling in those later miles of a marathon, since that's what we're talking about tonight, the little tricks that I play are, I always tell myself, and I didn't come up with this, it's just something that really resonated with me, is run the mile you're in. Stop worrying about, oh God, there's 15 more miles to go and I feel terrible. Just run this one. Just kick back. And it's funny because when you start to focus like that, running on the mile you're in, you start to realize it doesn't really hurt as much as I think it does. I'm just worried that it's going to get terrible later. You know what I mean? So just calm down and things will work out. And chase the person in front of you. Find somebody who's off in the distance and see if you can get them over the space of a couple of miles. Keep yourself distracted, and you'll get there. You'll get there. It's tough, especially if it's your first one because you don't know what to expect, but it gets easier with each subsequent race for everybody who's new to running and is watching us. But before I wax poetic anymore, everyone, we're at about an hour now. So I want to take the opportunity to let everybody talk about where people can find you. Now, please do feel confident. I've got a lot of links for all of you already in the description below so that everybody watching this either now or in the future can get to your channels easily. But Sam, talk a little bit about where people can find you online.
So I'm pretty much on everything. I've got Instagram, which is runningman_Sam, and then obviously YouTube, which is Running Man Sam as well. I do also have a Strava running club, which is RMS, just Running Man Sam in the initials, run club, which is, I was talking to Alyssa about that. We've got some challenges on there where the first one's going to be, you've got to run 1,000-foot elevation in one run. You get bonus points, the shorter the distance. But we're just going to be introducing some fun challenges like that, just to sort of, in lockdown as well, especially, and just because of all the lack of races, it just keeps it fun and exciting, doesn't it? But yeah, on Instagram, I've been on Instagram for a while now, just posting obviously your daily runs and tips, tricks, and things like that. And then yeah, came onto YouTube. I think I was saying to you, Paul, when we was on with Tony James a few weeks back. I absolutely love shoes. So running shoes is like my thing. I love running shoes. I've got an insane running collection. I literally can't stop myself buying shoes. I've constantly got shoes coming in. But yeah, so I started my YouTube channel. I did a few sort of reviews where I did no editing at all. It just kind of just sort of stuck it on. And then I thought, well, I'm going to do this a bit better now. So I spent ages editing the review. I just did it all on my phone, tried to save it. It didn't save. It corrupted and deleted itself. And I just gave up. I thought, oh, I'm not doing this again. This is just, and I didn't do it again for another 11 months. The YouTube channel was there. I still used Instagram, and I just left it. And then I just sort of, I carried on doing some shoe reviews on Instagram, and I just thought Instagram's not really the place for shoe reviews. People are watching it, but so yeah, I just brought it back to YouTube, and yeah, as Paul said. Hopefully you can find my links in the description. If not, it'll just be Running Man Sam. Quite easy. There's not many people called Running Man Sam, so you'll be able to find that. And you'll just find an abundance of shoe reviews about a guy who's clearly too obsessed with running shoes. Plenty of little workouts and tips and tricks on there, and vlogging and stuff like that. Vlogging some races and some time trials. hopefully you'll find it interesting. My approach is just to try and make information fun. So as you may have guessed by today, I just like to take myself not too seriously. I like to have a bit of a laugh, a little bit of a little bit of fun as I'm talking in them. And so yeah, hopefully that has explained everything that I'm about. It would be cool to see guys in the run club, the Strava Run Club, because I'm trying to eventually. My goal is to make that into a proper running club where I actually sort of,
Awesome.
that's the long-term goal. But for now it's just sort of a fun little bit on Strava. So yeah, if you guys do like little fun challenges, then do check out my personal and the Run Club Strava. That'd be awesome. Cheers.
I'll be there for sure. As soon as we're done here tonight, that's the first thing I'm going to do is sign up.
Brilliant.
Cool. All right, Alyssa, I would like you to share where people can find you on social media.
You can find me on social media on Instagram. It's Ally3Anderson, and I think that's it.
Cool. And I can attest, Alyssa posts just amazing runs, really inspirational stuff. That's how I first met Alyssa, was just seeing what she was doing every day there on Instagram. And I was like, oh, wow, I want to get to know this person a little bit better. And, you can also learn a little bit more about Alyssa on a video interview on my channel. Everybody, if you go through my archive of videos, you'll find that. It's actually Subscriber Spotlight, I believe, #1. And it's a great talk, and Alyssa provides a lot of inspiration, a lot of motivation, and a lot of wisdom. So I encourage you to go check that out, as well as following her on Instagram. And Shawanna, please share all the different ways that people can find you.
It's only really one way. But before I share that real quickly, and I need to go real fast just in case my phone dies, keeping it real. Sam, I got a quick question. Since you're like the shoe man, what kind of shoe for your marathon?
Oh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. But I've narrowed it down to 3 shoes at the moment, and that's either going to be the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 2, the Adidas Addio Pro, or the Asics Metaspeed Sky. I've ruled out the Alpha Fly because even though it feels like the fastest shoe that I've ever run in, it gives me plantar fasciitis pain every single time I run in it, really bad arch pain. And actually speaking to a few people on my live chats on my YouTube, it's amazing how many people feel the same with that shoe. I didn't even realize it was such a big thing. But yeah, so I need to do some more research underfoot, Shawanna, about it just to sort of be sure. But I've at least narrowed 40 shoes down to 3. So that's, we are getting there. But what shoe are you planning on using? Is what's interesting. What sort of shoes what shoe do you race in at the moment?
At the moment, I'm running in Hoka. I'm a Hoka visitor, so I'm running in the Rocket X and the Carbon X.
That's what I thought I saw on your feet in that last picture. Okay, awesome. So Shawanna, where can we find you online?
The best place to find me is the Square, also known as Instagram. You can find me at PeachRunner 26.2 because I love to run marathons, and you'll get a lot of positive vibes and get a glimpse of my running journey, and also you'll get a great Friday dance.
I love those, by the way. I just want to again encourage everybody to follow everybody, because everybody you're looking at on screen is just a friendly source of awesome information. Everybody here is just inspiring, motivational, and just amongst the best. So I want to thank you all for participating in this tonight. I think we passed on a lot of good information for people who are either going after their very first marathon or who have been around a while and just looking for ways to get better. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I'm going to call it quits here so that we can keep this somewhat short and watchable for everybody. Thank you again, and have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
Guys. Bye.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Okay. Let's see how to